Hi, this is Zach Mayer with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 21st of October. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which has delivered one of its RSI 50 rebounds. We had a couple of those last month, and obviously that took the market to the high. That was versus around the 9200 area. Never really went back from the first one, but we had a second one, and now we've got fresh RSI 50 rebound there. Should be enough to take us towards at least retesting the best levels ever, which was 95.77. There is a bit of congestion around 94.80, but at the moment, with that signal, with the one dip and done bounce off the 50-day moving average as well at 92.94, we should be on our way. Best case scenario at the moment is the top of the channel there heading for 96.80, and that would be for the end of next month. I suppose now we're getting into the end of the year as well, but at the moment the end of next month is a best case there while we're above the 92.80 zone. The DAX is next, and here we're back on the right side of the 50-day moving average. Didn't like being below it. We gapped down and then gapped up, so that does suggest that this is actually a stronger market than it might appear, even though it's rather dead. Above the 50-day line there at 24,000. Looking for obviously a retest of the best levels ever, 24,800. And then the top of the channel there at 26,000, perhaps as soon as the end of next month. RSI in the low 50, so in an okay place. I think the only thing missing really is a proper move through 24,400, but that's just a quibble. Moving on to the Dow, and here we've broken that mysterious line of resistance there, 46,200, and done it quite well. You can see now that we're still in that rising trend channel from May last year. Red line there heading for top of the channel there heading for 48,200, which is what we're looking for by the end of next month. Effectively, we've had two RSI rebounds. The second one just below the 50 level, but I suppose it counts in a way in terms of being strong, and we've got the RSI back in the upper 50s. Which ties in with that support line that we had there. But whatever the case is, at the moment above 46,200, looking for the highs and new highs potentially for this market. Worst case on any rug pull, which has been the case even before the dip that we had last week, would be the 50-day line on an intraday basis, 45,700. Onto the cryptos, where everybody's got they're sitting on the edge of their seats. Here, at least with Bitcoin, we managed to reclaim we had managed to reclaim the 200-day moving average. That's around current levels, around the 107 or 108 level, I suppose, more accurately. We have the floor of the channel there from March, around 104. So ideally, we don't go back below 104. The problem at the moment is we've failed at the 50-day line and also failing at the 200-day line. And we've had our second RSI 50 failure, so that is rather ominous. If you go by that alone, which some people could and would, then the next destination down for this market would be June support at 98,000, while we're below the 50-day line at 114. So let's see if that pans out. Moving on to Ethereum, and here another failure at the below the 50-day moving average. That's at 42.78, and also another RSI failure, which is rather more ominous. That suggests that we could break that uptrend line there from April at 37.40 and perhaps head down to August support there at 33.40. And I suppose at the moment that's the most likely scenario given the price action that we're seeing, unless something very special happens. Can't rule out a test of the 200-day line there at 32.08 either. Moving on to gold, which had a bit of a rug pull at the end of last week. We've managed to reverse that, almost like a cork in water. So a very interesting price action there. And we're still looking for the best case scenario target there, that red resistance line projection, heading for 4,500. And we're looking for that by the end of next month or even sooner, that red line in November resistance line projection, which rather poetically could be hit by the end of next month. There is a rug pull, expecting something towards the initial October resistance around 40.80 at worst. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with Cadence, where the regrouping of the shares looks as though it is progressing well. We're actually trading either side of the second target we had there, around 3.9 pence, and also around, actually just above the old December resistance from last year, 3.5 pence. At least while we're above 3.5, looking for a full-blooded retest of the best levels from last month, 6 pence plus. and hoping for that by the end of next month. RSI 50 rebound, the latest manifestation of the indicator there, so that is also helping us feel more confident. All that's missing, I suppose, actually in the near term, end of day close through 4.2 pence, which is recent resistance, and the stock seems to have just heard me, and it's now on 4.2 pence. Moving on to one of the stocks of the month, which is Eco Buildings, and all our targets here hit. In fact, what you can see there is that I think initially we were looking for 6.5 pence, then we were looking for about 9 pence, 14, and then finally 20, and obviously that's been blown out of the water, which means we're looking for or looking to see what was the resistance on the way down. And you can see basically the main one there around 26 pence from this time last year. So, and that's actually been the roughly the high of the day, the high of the day so far, around 26.5 pence. So above that, not really much to speak of between there and 50, which was the old 2022 support. So if you are a bull of the shares, the numbers or the levels in question are 20, 26 and 50 at the moment. Moving along to eStar, which had a decent announcement today, I think acquisition of an asset. And here, slow progress, but steady progress. RSI 50 rebounds there, support above a rising 50-day line. So we're looking for that red resistance line projection, top of the channel there from summer of last year at 2.75 pence. Hopefully by the end of next month, while we're above the 50-day line, 1.84. Doesn't really move that stock, but at least the setup is there for that situation. Another interesting setup at the moment is Geo, which has basically gapped through the rising 50-day line there. That's at 0.33. Above that, was rather simply looking for a retest of last month's resistance at 0.5 pence by the end of November. Ideally, we stay on the right side of 0.3 pence now. Anyway, moving on to KEFI, where there was a bit of a better to travel rather than arrive type situation going on with the stock yesterday. We obviously spiked through to 2 pence. So the market makers obviously had a very fun day yesterday. But through all the chaos, you can see that the old initial October resistance around 1.35 pence. RSI remaining above the neutral 50 level as well, so we have 2 bounces there. So it does look as though we'll stay above the 1.2, 1.3 zone and then can retest the 2 pence area. Our best case scenario target here up to 2.4 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above 1.2. I think that would be a fair call. Mkango's next, and this has obviously blown the doors and blown the lights off and everything else off in the recent past. Current situation is that we are toying with the old February top of the February trend channel there around 58 pence. Above that, looking for not only a retest of the best levels through 72 pence, but that lilac line there towards 96 pence perhaps by the end of the year. But the key here, I think, is staying on the right side of initial October resistance around that 50 pence mark. Mila is a stock which I've given a lot of coverage to. I'm not quite sure why, but obviously the shares certainly on a bullish footing. In fact, getting more and more bullish by the day. We've had the RSI at or above neutral 50 since the end of August, and we've also hit or exceeded our previous target there, 1.7 above 1.7 pence and 2.7 pence by the end of next month. One of the 2 difficult stocks at the moment is, well, the first one is Smarter Web, which obviously remains extremely difficult. The other one is Mast, which is totally collapsed, a bit like a sort of Empire Metals type of collapse there. And here you can see that we just holding on to that support line, that falling support line there from July. That's around the 16, 17 pence level. So if you are a fan of the shares and like today's news, that is potentially a support area for a rebound back towards the 200-day line at 42 pence. But very strange price action there, very horrible price action there on Mast at the moment. Moving on to the last 2. The first one is Oriole, which has had a decent announcement today. I think it was the MRE. Here you can see that we've gapped up above a rising 50-day line. Above that at 0.32, looking for a retest of 0.5, the main resistance from August and September, and hoping for that by the end of next month. Finishing up with Oracle Power, which is within a couple of bands there, for a couple of target areas there. The first one was 0.045, the second one 0.058 and looking for an end of day close through that to give us the big move, or a potentially big move through from 0.06 to 0.09. RSI bounced above RSI 50, and we've had plenty of those in the recent past, hence the potential of the shares pushing through 0.06 to get to 0.09, etc. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.